You're watching News9 Live. Two deaths which shook the collective conscience of Bengaluru in the last 1 week. One, 22-year-old Bhanurekha, and the other, 27-year-old Lokesh. They may not have known each other, but then they were united in death because of a common reason. Waterlogged, inundated roads in Bengaluru due to pre-monsoon showers. I know what you're all thinking, whether you are viewers from Bengaluru or elsewhere. This isn't the first time, as this recurs every year. Same scenes of flooded roads and a deluge which drowns this beautiful city. Where does the Bangalorean go? Well, to the BBMP is the logical answer. But then, is the BBMP equipped to handle the rains in Bengaluru? Hasn't it been caught napping repeatedly? Isn't the BBMP becoming a symbol of what is terribly wrong with such institutions? Let's debate as to what really is wrong. First up, I shall introduce you to Manasi Paresh Kumar, who's a journalist and also who was injured. I mean, everyone can lay the blame, but it's very clear. I saw the pictures on Twitter this morning and it shook me to the core, the kind of injuries Manasi had because of the work which was going on in the pavement. Two accidents, ladies and gentlemen. And the BBMP, let me tell you, has been caught napping repeatedly. Mansi, welcome to the show and thank you so much for joining us. Tell our viewers about the accident that, occurred because of BBMP, obviously. Why are we mincing words, Mansi?
Thank you for having me, Sudha. And yes, so the year was 2020, just before COVID struck. And I slipped on a dug up pavement at Indranagar, had a grade 3 MCL tear, and had to undergo reconstructive ligament surgery. It took me about a year to get back on my feet. And I was just about, picking myself up when in December of 2021, I fell off my bicycle trying to avoid a pedestrian who slipped on an uneven pavement and ended up with 4 fractures in my leg. I now have 2 rods and 21 screws. I'm recovering. I'm still not completely out of the woods. So yes, I mean, the loss of life because of shoddy infrastructure is a very, very harsh reality. But for those of us who actually have survived accidents because of it, it just doesn't stop. It's an everyday struggle, mentally, physically, financially. And Sudha, I'd like.
I think we have some connectivity problem with Manasi Paresh Kumar. And she's a journalist, of course, and she was relating her nightmare. 2 accidents, those are the pictures of Manasi. 2 accidents, one because of the work which was going on in the pavement, must have been very close to either her home or workplace. Look at that. She says that she's still not able to get over this. And the second accident also because she was trying to, apparently a pedestrian slipped and Manasi was on her bicycle and the second accident occurred. Manasi is back with us. Manasi, you were saying, go on.
Yeah, so my apologies, because of the rain, the internet connectivity is a little bit iffy and tangly right now.
Go on.
So what actually happens, Sudha, is a dominoes effect. My second injury was exasperated because of the first injury. So, once you get hit, once there's a tiny tear in your body, any kind of second stress on it can only make it worse. And that's what happened in my case. And, I don't understand why there is such incompetence in the expertise that is being given to us by the urban design engineers.
Right. You know what? Now the latest from the BBMP is do not use the underpass. Do not stand under a flyover. Avoid them. One official has even gone to the extent of saying, let's shut down the underpass. I mean, what kind of a lame excuse is that? You know, I'm amazed. Every day there is a new excuse. It's either there is no coordination, or the latest which I found in the morning, you know, that's why I came to Twitter and I was reading your timeline, that how ridiculous can you get? Then I have to get to work, someone has to get to hospital, children have to go to school. So if there is underpass is shut and I'm not supposed to use a flyover, what I'm supposed to do? Am I supposed to be Batman and fly? What kind of an excuse is that? Don't you think this is most ridiculous? And what does it show, Manasi? It shows clearly that these people, the BBMP, has no answer. It is not equipped at all to handle the monsoons in Bengaluru. What do you think?
So, my personal experience with the BBMP, because I was a journalist and I covered
Yes.
BBMP, the irony of that
Yes, I
statement doesn't escape me. Yes, the BBMP is not capable of handling the problems of Bengaluru, and they've only added to their plate by, expanding the city without having the resources to deal with the already existing problems. And they also have a second problem, which is, they try to reinvent a wheel that is not broken. Like, for example, you have white topping all over the city. I still do not understand the logic behind it. Ask any auto driver on the street, he'll tell you, madam, it is very difficult for us to grip our brakes on this stretch, because usage makes it smooth and it becomes very difficult for us to, get a grip on our brakes. I mean, this is a disaster waiting to unfold. I personally have not met a single person outside of BBMP who thinks white topping is a great idea.
Right. Now, tell me something, Manasi, you know, after you were injured, now this is a very important thing, because, you know, after Bhanurekha passed and Lokesh passed, I've been calling people in Bengaluru and said, have you even filed a case against BBMP? Because look, you know, they have a perfect excuse. They are not, they are inefficient. I'm sorry, I'm saying this loud. They are inefficient. On top of that, I think they have a book on how to give the latest excuse. You know, like when we were in school, we used to look, today someone died, yesterday, you know, my goldfish died, etc., to not submit your homework. So they seem to be masters at this, you know, Mansi. I want to ask you, they say, well, no one has complained. Wherever they have complained, we have tried to compensate them. Did you think, as a journalist, as, you know, a woman of today, did you think that someone has to pay for it? Someone has, you know, for the pain, and it's not the medical expense I'm talking about. I'm talking about the trauma that you must have gone through, Mansi.
That is more important than the financial aspect of it, Sudha, because and I understand that I come from a place of privilege where I could actually take on the burden of paying for all of this. This has cost me an upward of about 6 lakhs now.
Oh my God.
And I'm still paying. I'm not done with it. My physio doesn't get covered and under insurance for everybody who will ask. The trauma, the mental trauma of not being able to work or able to walk out the way I did or enjoy the quality of life that I did before these accidents is certainly more traumatic than, you know, anything that I have had to pay out of pocket. I think there is a certain there is only going to be importance given to quantitative data. Acha, theek hai, there are 20,000 people died, or you know, but then there is absolutely nothing that has been spoken about in terms of qualitative disasters, in terms of what it does to somebody's life who has to live with the repercussions of this.
Absolutely. I mean, I totally hear you, you know, where you're saying there has to, you work only on quantitative data. You know, you had injuries, but then someone like Bhanurekha died on us. Someone like Lokesh died on us. Let me come back to you. Let me go to the other guests. But before that, you know what? Much like Manasi, much like Katyayani, much like several other Bangaloreans on whose behalf we are speaking on News9 Live, there are voices which said this can't go on forever. Listen to them.
ಒಂದು ವಾರದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಕೆಲಸಗಳು ಯಾವ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟು ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರಪಂಚದಲ್ಲಿ, ಬರೀ ನಮ್ಮ ದೇಶದಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಆಫ್ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಹೊಸ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಬಂದಿದೆ, ಹೊಸ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದೇವ್ರ ದಯೆಯಿಂದ ಎಲ್ಲ ಒಳ್ಳೇದಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಇವಾಗಿಂದ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಆಗೋಗಿದೆ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು. ಟೋಲ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿರಬಹುದು, ಅಥವಾ ಫ್ಯೂಲ್ ರೇಟ್ ಆಗಿರಬಹುದು, ಅಥವಾ ಈಗ ಇದು ಪ್ರಾಮಿಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಲೇಡೀಸ್ಗೆ ಬಸ್ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆ ಫ್ರೀ ಆಗೋಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ, ಅದು ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು. ಈ ಎಲ್ಲ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆಗಳು ಖಂಡಿತವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಬಂದರೆ ತುಂಬ ಅನುಕೂಲ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಜನರಿಗೆ.
As a youth of Karnataka and a citizen of Bengaluru city, what concerns me is the waterlogging and flood situation here in my city of Bengaluru. Unfortunately, we lost a life. Therefore, I pleaded to the able government of Shri Siddaramaiah ji as a chief minister and the newly inducted Bengaluru Urban Development Minister Shri Dinesh Gundu Rao ji to kindly do the needful immediately. I truly believe that Bengaluru over the years has suffered due to the non-elections of the Bruhat Bengaluru Mahanagara Palike. Therefore, the need of the hour is to have the best of councillors, efficient people in the government so that we can salvage this situation. Bengaluru is seen as the Silicon Valley of the East, the Silicon capital of India. Therefore, much greater, larger measures need to be taken immediately. A humble request as a Bangalorean to please do the needful. I've always believed with great power comes great responsibility. It is time for the Congress government to be responsible and do the needful.
In a city like Bangalore, where the world looks up, it is so devastating and difficult to know that people have died because of the infrastructural issues. So we expect from the new government with so many promises to deliver something. And probably like in a city like Bangalore, the infrastructure is one of the main things, and the traffic management along with it has a big role to play. So what we request right now from as a Bangalore citizen is better deliverance in the infrastructure of Bangalore, and BBMP should be responsible for whatever incident that has happened yesterday.
The BBMP caught napping. Take a look. That's what we are talking about. And this show, of course, is for Bangaloreans, but it's for all of us. Because BBMP, much like other institutions, which always is very busy giving excuses, the needle should move there. It's time. You can't have this year after year. Let me go to the other guest. I have Katyayani Kamaraj, who is the Executive Trustee, Civic Bangalore, Sandeep Aniruddhan, Convener, Citizens Agenda for Bengaluru, and my colleague, Mohammed Wajihulla. Let me go to Mohammed Wajihulla first. Waji, you know, in the morning when I was reading the newspapers, what shocked me was the latest excuse. I'm going to go on and on about it, where, where the BBMP said, listen, please do not use this underpass. I don't know why the driver went under the underpass, maybe, trying to be more loyal than the king, because Siddaramaiah said the same thing. But the point is, they said, do not take shelter under the flyovers. How are citizens supposed to then move around? I mean, you please shut them. For everyone can go back to work from home and happily have a holiday. This is the kind of messaging. Don't you think, Vaji, that this is one of the lamest excuses one can come up with, Vaji?
Well, the BBMP believes that it has to pass the buck on somebody, and who better than a driver who will not say anything. But from what we've got to know from the situation that occurred that day, there was waterlogging over there. The driver could have averted it, but the BBMP also goes on to say that they had placed barricades in front of him, but because of heavy winds and rain, those barricadings were not there. So this clearly gives you an indication that they were also not prepared, and the driver also did something that he should not have done in the first place. But you cannot completely blame the driver or Lokesh for falling off into the pit. It is these measures that the BBMP should have taken way before the rains should have come. It is not that it rained yesterday or day before yesterday and the BBMP should start preparing it. These are recurring issues. These happen year after year, year after year. The visuals that we saw last year were horrifying. The ones that we've seen this year is one time bigger than that, two times bigger than that. And this is just pre-monsoon season. And the preparedness of BBMP is known from the statements that they've given. Even when we spoke to the Chief Governor, Tushar Giri Nath, he also said that we have a surplus amount of money from last year's budget. We are using that same money for desilting, for clearing the stormwater drains, to clearing the pipes and everything. But you know what happened? When it rained the other day, it had strong winds, and because of that, big leaves got stuck into the drains, and that is why water clogging happened. These kinds of excuses is not something that Bengaloreans will buy now. I think it's high time that the BBMP starts working on issues than giving excuses, because standing below a flyover, standing below a bus stand, standing below a tree, all these things can fall. But that does not mean that you don't do these arrangements. You don't do your bit of it.
You're absolutely right. You are caught napping. You know, also in the morning when I spoke to my relatives and friends in Bengaluru, some of the older lot, they are very scared. Now, if you say, look, the drainage, you know, in the underpass, when you pass an underpass, the drainage there is clogged, and also after Bhanureka, there is panic, Wajihulla. They are saying, Arey, if I go on, you know, if I take an auto or a taxi or a, you know, some other kind of vehicle, what if they, so there is panic. Do you think, don't you think they should be responsible enough not to create such panic, Vaji?
Well, there is panic, there are rumors, but more of it, there is, these situations are present on the ground also. The roads are not properly kept now because of these heavy rains. The wear and tear of these roads are also happening. So people are talking about it. Citizens of Bangalore have always been one of those who voice out their issues, who voice out their problems, who are seen talking about it. And when it comes to civic issues, they are there, be it cutting of trees, being potholes. Bangaloreans have always shown, have been the upfront when it comes, when you compare to the rest of the countries. Now it's up to the BBMP to make sure that these rumors or these issues or the fear that the people is having of moving out on the road is something that they put a rest to that.
All right, Wajihulla, and you know, I'm going to come back to you, but before that, Wajihulla filed a report and did this short interview or conversation with the Chief Commissioner of BBMP, Tushar Giri Nath. Take a look.
45 minutes of heavy rain resulted in the death of two people in Bengaluru, one a 22-year-old techie and another 31-year-old resident of Nagarara. So how do you see these two deaths? Who do you think should be held responsible, or who is accountable for this?
The deaths are unfortunate. Any death is very, very unfortunate, and we always work to see that public is kept safe under all circumstances. But the circumstances were unprecedented. We received around 50 mm rainfall in certain areas within 45 minutes, which is equivalent to around 150 to 200 mm rainfall in a day. If you see the intensity, it is very huge, and you cannot have a linear scale that if it would have fallen on 20 mm, there will be damage which will be very less, but it becomes exponentially high when it becomes 50 mm rainfall in 40 minutes. So that is how the unprecedented rainfall has resulted into certain areas getting inundated. But if you see the more or less overall only 20 houses got inundated. That means our systems of cleaning the stormwater drain and keeping our systems update are quite effective, and they have not led much of damage anywhere to either to the public property or the private property or to life. The two lives which have suffered this onslaught of rain, we are very sorry for that, and government has declared 5 lakh each ex gratia. There had been circumstances in which the driver took a wrong turn and took to the underpassage which was getting inundated, but the rate at which it got inundated was so high that the death has occurred. We are getting all our underpasses audited, getting them audited and trying to find out as to whether we can make them safer, or if they are not at any point ready for traffic, the traffic should not be allowed there to come. So there should be some barricading, etc., or some system which comes into operation immediately.
So, but year after year we see similar situations. If you see the visuals that we saw on the day when it rained, similar visuals were seen last year also. The entire Bellandur area was flooded. So this is a recurring problem. Why don't we have a permanent solution for this?
As I told you, nobody can plan for a downpour of that intensity. It will, certain areas get flooded and they will go off. So the rate at which they are cleared, you have to see the rate at which they get inundated and the rate at which they get cleared. We cannot say tomorrow that 100% there will be no water on the road or no water on the underpasses, but they should be cleared fast. So if you see, hardly there had been any inundation in Bangalore, even with this high intensity. That is what I am saying. Around 15 houses at one place and 5 houses got inundated. The 15 houses which got inundated was also because we were taking up our drain work there. So we are completely geared up. All our drains, around 850 odd kilometer of primary and secondary drain. There had been 2 rounds of cleaning since November till this time. That is why you will not find much of backwater coming to the houses. Similarly, we are desilting in each ward. Last year, money has also not exhausted, so that desilting is going on in that money. This year, freshly, we have kept around 30 lakh for each ward to get the cleaning done of the tertiary drains, which are getting connected to secondary drain. All our major roads are under maintenance, so they are under some maintenance contract. So they are regularly being kept clean. We have engaged gangs at the level of subdivisions for which we have kept money, and they are going to be there for 4 months of rain. So during gangs means there is some 8 to 7 persons who are taken with the proper equipments, etc. They are taken for a temporary period of 4 to 5 months to see that by October end or November first week they will be under operation. They clear when this type of clogging is happening during the rain. They will physically go and clear it. During the other time when it is not raining so heavily, they maintain the cleanliness on the roadside blocking should not happen. If you see this time, there had been very strong winds blowing, followed by rains. Those two big events, both are potential type of hazards, both came together. So we had large number of twigs and leaves blocking the various waterways, and the rain came so heavily following the gust that both together had caused this problem. This problem is only been very, very localized. Actually, all this water goes very fast. If you see, within 45 minutes of that incident, the water has majorly gone. Only it was 1 foot or 1.5 feet remaining, which we have now made. Again, cleaning up of the grating has been done, and it is going on.
So in a way, you're trying to say that though the pre-monsoon showers gave us an idea of what is going to happen, we are prepared for the monsoon.
No, we are very much prepared. I am only saying that despite our all preparedness, when the rains are having that high intensity, we are issuing a warning to the public and public at large and to our administration also. People should heed to those warning also, so that it makes our life slightly easier to do the rescue operation, to clean the things. Even when the gust had destroyed around 100 trees, we were not in a position to reach there because a lot of traffic was going towards various places to the city center for IPL matches and every something, because after 1 hour the thing was normal mostly to the people, but it has obstructed our rescue operations. So we request the citizenry also to, when this type of events happen, they allow us to move. That means if they are indoor, etc., it would be helpful to a bit.
So my last question is, there haven't been election for the last 2.5 years, sir. How do you think the BBMP is functioning? What does the people need to understand? Do they have to approach the corporators or the MLAs? How is the thing going to function right now? Because there is this confusion of the elections. Do we have any clarity on that, sir?
This question you can ask to the government. When is it going to happen?
All right, sir. Okay, so that was Mr. Tushar, who clearly said that situations like these do occur, but the BBMP is prepared for the monsoon, and he's also requested people to make sure that they stay safe, they abide by the rules when such situations occur. Bringing you this is Wajihulla with Guru Charan for News 9.
All right, and with due respects to Mr. Nath, you know, instead of giving, you gave a lot of suggestions. But what about the latest suggestion, which we are focusing on today, which is do not use underpass and do not please stand under any flyover. Like I said initially, he's actually egging on people to either take flights within the city or even fly. Sandeep Aniruddhan, I mean, this is the lamest excuse that I have heard. And also, how do you expect people who are cooking, cleaning, sending children to school, working in the morning to heed to advice? I mean, unlike the West, where you have, you know, warning systems which are working non-stop, because that warning system is not because they have better communication skills, it's only because they know it's happened last year, it's been happening for a decade. So, they say storm coming, do not go, rains coming, etc., etc. Don't you think this do not use underpass and the flyover excuse is really ridiculous?
Well, if you look at the culture of, let's say, sensitivity that we see in our country, it's pretty low. I think we have very low tolerance. No, we have rather high tolerance. We have very high tolerance to poor delivery of services. We have high tolerance to inefficiency. I think the value we give to human life is very negligible. It might be a problem of plenty because we have a huge population. We don't really value it much, and governments are also characterized by inefficiency, and I think the population by and large are desensitized. So there is such low expectation. We really don't expect them to do better. But I think it is time that we start setting a high bar. It's time we stop accepting the low quality of services we get. It's time we start demanding more. Otherwise, nothing will change, because everything that a government delivers will be based on citizens' expectations. And the louder the citizens' expectations get, the tougher it becomes for a government to ignore. But more and more, if we keep ignoring what the government does, then there'll be business as usual. So I think a big role in improving the overall quality of life, delivery of services, preparedness, it'll all depend on how citizens engage more actively. And this is the main reason why the platforms that are intended for citizens to engage with government on a regular basis have to be robust. And especially when they are legislated. If these are mandated under law, then there should be absolutely no forgiving the government if the government doesn't deliver these things, like the ward committees at every ward, the disaster committees at every ward, things like these. There should be absolutely no tolerance to not having these. They are mandated under the constitution. The government has to deliver. And the overall improvement of our civic services will only happen when they are directly answerable to people.
Right.
Which is why decentralization and devolution is so important. Right now, we have a system which is being played because despite the law saying that the BBMP should be decentralized, devolved, and unified, the politicians of the state are unwilling to let that happen. For 3 decades, they have prevented it. They don't allow the BBMP to be decentralized. They don't allow a strong mayoral system of government to evolve.
Right.
They don't allow elections. Can you imagine? It's a joke that a city government has not had elections for 3 whole years.
I know, this
So
is really, Sandeep, this is shocking. This is shocking actually, you know, it's beyond a joke now. It's shocking. You know, where does one go to? I mean, you really brought up some very good points, you know, that maybe we have become very immune to all this, you know, we have high tolerance. What is high tolerance? I think that phrase is also overused. You have high tolerance for pain. Maybe I have some kind of a, you know, deterrent. That's why I'm not shouting and screaming. We should all shout and scream when in pain. I'm going to Mansi, Sandeep, and I'll come back to you, and then of course I'll go to Katyayani Chamaraj as well. But on what you raised, I want to go back to Manasi Paresh Kumar. Manasi, you know, 2-3 things that he brought about, and one thing is which I asked you, didn't you feel like really taking someone to, you know, to court or, you know, file a case? Because if there are convictions which happen, that will act as a strong deterrent, Manasi. You never thought about it, despite your 2 major injuries? I like you laugh a bit more. It gives me encouragement that, let's all laugh.
No, who do I take to court? If I take the commissioner,
I know.
Please, let's be very realistic about it. If I take the BBMP commissioner to court on the shoddy infrastructure, He's a bureaucrat. He will get transferred. He will retire. He will, there's 10 million things that happen by the time 20 years pass by and I get justice for whatever I decided to sue them for. Now, with my leg, do you really want me to, walk around courthouse? I really don't have the energy for it. Our
Right.
system is broken.
Yeah, the system is broken and there is no accountability. You've been a journalist and you have covered the BBMP. No, I'm not going to ask you your source. We don't do that. But then I want to ask you that when you met so many officials from the BBMP, did you feel that there was this blasé attitude that, okay, roads are dug up, so we'll do it. What is the hurry? That kind of, let me take my time to give you an answer kind of an attitude. Was it there? Which is, I think, a major problem in most of these institutions.
But that is the truth of most of the parastatal organizations.
Yeah.
It's not just BBMP. You go to the BWSP, you go to BESCOM, all of them have the same chalta hai attitude. It's okay, we'll get to it. Don't worry about it. We'll get to it. And if we kind of scream and yell and we're branded as troublemakers, we have FIRs filed against us, all of that happens. Bangalore is one city which has a very vibrant civic activism, culture of civic activism. And we've managed to work with the government in very many spaces. But these are problems that continue to plague us because everybody thinks they're an expert. Nobody wants to listen to the experts. And
right.
And I did listen to Mr. Giri Nath's take on the matter, and he, said, we're prepared. 2 people are dead. How prepared? How can you say you're prepared?
Absolutely. And then this thing about, do not go under underpasses and do not stand under flyovers, I think is the lamest thing I have heard and I'm going to keep saying this, coming back to you, Katyayani Chamaraj, no accountability, no elections, they can't even handle, they are caught napping most of the time, they can't even handle pre-monsoon showers, and this is the mess that we are all in, and the latest is the excuse. Do you think they have run out of excuses, or you think there will be more excuses like this which will make me and you talk for more time, Katyayani Chamaraj?
Yeah, thank you for having me on this show. If the 5 lakh compensation that is being paid to the families who suffered these deaths, if that was taken from the engineers who are accountable for misgovernance, then I think they would pick up and make sure that the infrastructure is in proper shape. Make them accountable to monetarily. Saying some inquiry will be done and something will be set right, that's not going to solve it. What we are seeing time and again is that no official is being held accountable for the bylaws that they violate, for the building bylaws that they allow, which are, built on lake beds, and even lakes are being encroached upon with the connivance of the officials, and none of them is punished for it. And when a death occurs, you make sure that the engineer in charge has to pay that expense or compensation that is paid to the citizen. I think things will improve drastically. And also, we need to do a white paper on the kind of infrastructure that is being built, which is so leaning towards, accommodating these private vehicles, and they are spending, I don't know how many crores just to build these underpasses and flyovers, keeping in view just the 20 lakh car owners of the city. So you are not spending enough on sustainability. You're talking about climate change. You're talking about huge rain coming. But are you budgeting enough for maintaining the sustainability of the ecosystem of Bangalore? You are cutting trees like nobody's business. You're widening roads only to accommodate these private cars, and thousands of crores are being spent just to make them go in a signal-free way. And you're not spending enough on even the design of the road, because I see very often that the drains that are there on the side of the road, they are incapable of taking the water from the road. The way they are designed, it's just not suitable for the kind of monsoon showers we get. there are hardly any shoulder drains where the water can go. And
Right.
you'll see that most of them are already clogged with garbage and leaves. And because you don't have a proper solid waste management system where garbage is containerized, it is being lying all over the road, and you're not even creating some, system of composting the leaves that fall right
Right.
there on the road. So you're totally ignoring sustainability, not budgeting for it, and budgeting for the totally unsustainable way of incentivizing private vehicles.
Right.
Now, we need a white paper to talk about what kind of infrastructure is being built, and we have to make the Bangalore Metropolitan Land Transport Authority, which has been
Absolutely.
constituted.
Katyani, what you say is very idealistic, and I think that is the way to go. You know, what Sandeep said, very idealistic. He said devolution, decentralization. But the fact of the matter is, none of these things, are happening, or, I hope they happen, but they're not. So, don't you think, Sandeep, this is what I'm going to come to you. What should one do today? Suppose I go fall into a pothole and break my skull. Tell me, all this is okay. Unfortunately, what to do? What is the shortcut that I have, I say?
See, Sudha, there are two things. One, there is widespread ineptitude, dereliction of duty in government. If we wish to chase after officials, there are options. You can file a case in the Lokayukta. In fact, this flooding of underpass happened barely a kilometer away from the Lokayukta office. I have filed cases of corruption against BBMP officials. One was for constructing an illegal road on a lake buffer zone by BBMP itself. The BBMP officials are building an illegal road for land mafia interests.
Right.
In fact, one of those land mafia interests has become a minister in the present government.
Wow.
So, yeah, so it's a circle that keeps perpetuating. In fact, I got an FIR filed against me because I was tweeting about the issue by the same BBMP. So they have time to do all this nonsense, but they don't have time to do stay prepared for citizens' interest. They don't have time to stay prepared for the actual work that is supposed to happen. While all the roads in our area were lying, in in a very poor state, they had the effort and time available to build an illegal road.
Right.
And they had funds also to do it.
You
But they
put
were
it
not.
very, yeah, you say they build illegally, one of their own, but they also, they file an FIR. Katyayani was saying that there is no plan for sustainability, and, both of you make a lot of sense, because obviously if you do not stem it right at that stage, it goes to what our friend Manasi has faced. Mansi, I am asking you, as somebody who, is here to relive the nightmare actually, and also perhaps to give hope to thousands who may also have gone through such injuries and accidents, and thank God for small mercies, you are smiling and you have a lovely smile. Smile a bit more, Mansi, for all of us. Yes, I like that. That's the spirit, Mansi, Paresh Kumar. But tell me something, what is the way out, Mansi? Suppose I have post-traumatic distress, because these illnesses are not just physical, of course they are physical, but they are also, like you said, the inability to go to work, to walk like you used to do, to have a life before this accident. Tell me, what is the way out? What does one do?
I cannot speak as an expert, obviously, because I can only speak from my experience.
Of course.
So there, honestly, I'll be very honest. 4 months into my accident, I gave up. I couldn't.
Okay.
I shut down completely. My friends tried a lot to get me out of my depression. It's very difficult for somebody who was, very active previously, to suddenly find herself like a vegetable lying on the bed. But I had no choice in the matter, and I wouldn't wish this kind of a situation on anybody, but given the state that we live in, it's more likely. I have worked with, I've interacted with Katyani ma'am, I've interacted with Sandeep as well. What the points that they make, yes, this is something that has to be done. All of that, like you said, it's very idealistic, but it's not practical. because nobody is listening. As far as way out, Sudha, it depends on you as an individual. I literally clawed my way out. Some people will not, may not, because it just gets too much after a point, because there's no
Right.
structural help in place. I had the privilege of being able to afford the help. I had the access, I had the social capital to access the best medical care.
Huh.
What happens to somebody who's, let's take a work, I mean, so that look at the images that you're showing. You have people, you have officers and constables in their khaki uniform getting down into that water
Right.
without any safety gear, anything.
Absolutely. And you know what? I've
What are we
completely.
talking about? There
I
is
know,
absolutely
but you know what we are talking about it. You call yourself a vegetable, but you know what a beautiful vegetable you are, because this vegetable smiles, laughs. That's what I think. I salute your spirit, Mansi. Maybe a lot of us, you're right, may not be able to do it, but you are smiling through it. Smile for me before I say bye bye to you.
so that thank you so much. But
Thank you
again,
so much, and thanks are also due to Katyayani Chamaraj as well as Sandeep Anirudhan. Thank you so much, all of you. And I hope the BBMP kind of cuts short its slumber and wakes up.